During her reign, the Queen
with King.
Yesterday, the Prince waited.
Prince Charles and Prince Philip's
coronation.
Queen Elizabeth II
out the royal family.
Princess Diana.
Regardless of whether or not you live in one of 15 countries that is part of the Commonwealth realm, I'm sure you've heard of at least one of these names being talked about on the news.
That recognition of a deeper meaning and purpose in our lives. And I believe that this sense flourishes despite the pressures of our world.
The British royal crown has a long and complicated history with the world that goes back more than 1,200 years. However, this isn't a story of royal drama.
TV that there's not a royal racist and that the British media...
A royal succession.
But I don't see myself being queen of this country. I don't think many people would want me to be queen. Actually, when I say many people, I mean the establishment that I'm married into.
Or how the monarchy gained its power. It's a story of how the average person that resides in the UK and how they came to pay the salary of their monarch and king. I want to focus on one key question that kept coming up time and time again as I was researching. Is the British monarchy financially worth it for the people of the United Kingdom? Let's find out. The king's wealth is divided into three main categories. There's his personal wealth and income, the privy purse, and the sovereign grant, or as it's also known, the crown estate. You see, King Charles is worth approximately 1.2 billion pounds, which is about 1.45 billion US dollars. His wealth is made up of about 320 million pounds worth of property, including Sandringham Estate and Balmoral Estate, a stamp collection worth 100 million pounds, a private jewel collection worth 533 million pounds, 142 million pounds worth of private investments in the stock market, cars worth about 6 million pounds, racehorses, to my surprise, are valued to be about 27 million pounds. And lastly, famous works of art worth about 24 million pounds. Another source of wealth is the king's privy purse. The privy purse is a British sovereign's private income. It is mostly funded from the Duchy of Lancaster, an ancient estate that has belonged to the crown since 1399. The privy purse is used to cover the monarch's personal expenses such as clothing, food, travel, and entertainment, as well as the expenses of the immediate family. It also funds some of the monarch's official duties, such as hosting receptions and state visits. The privy purse is made up of a portfolio of land, property, and assets. As of March 2023, this portfolio is estimated to be worth 641.2 million pounds, which as a result had a profit of 26.2 million pounds for the year 2023. Since the privy purse is a portfolio held in trust for the sovereign, it's not entirely the king's, but it is the king's at the same time. What I mean by that is by all rights, it's the king's, but he can't just do whatever he wants with it. There are regulations, and he only gets yearly payments based on how much the privy purse makes. However, for the tally of his total wealth, I'll only include the yearly payments he gets from the privy purse. The last source of wealth is the crown estate. During the Norman conquest in the 11th century, all of the land in England belonged to the king. Over time, large areas of land were granted to nobles, but the majority of the land still belonged to the king, and the lands remained a significant source of revenue for the monarch to fulfill his fiscal responsibilities to the nation. In 1760, George III agreed to surrender the net income of his lands to the National Treasury in return for fixed annual payment. These lands have come to be known as the Crown Estate. The annual payment the monarch receives from the Treasury is known as the Sovereign Grant. Currently, the Crown Estate is made up of four main categories: London, which just means a lot of property, 7.2 billion pounds worth of property to be exact. Regional, which is mostly made up of retail parks valued to be 1.5 billion pounds. Marine, so we're at 3, which are really just wind farms to produce electricity, but they are worth 5.7 billion pounds. And lastly, Windsor Rural, which really just means a lot of farms that are worth 1.4 billion pounds. As of March 2023, the Crown Estate is worth 15.8 billion pounds, or about $19.3 billion. The profit from 2022 to 2023 was $442.6 million. So, how much of these profits does the king receive as part of the Crown Estate? Well, it's complicated. Let's see if we can break it down. The sovereign grant is a percentage of the Crown Estate's profits, which can be anywhere from 12 to 25%, depending on what the HM Treasury decides. HM stands for His Majesty's Treasury. For the financial year 2022 to 2023, the core sovereign grant was 51.8 million pounds, and the additional sovereign grant for reservicing was 34.5 million pounds, for a total sovereign grant of 86.3 million pounds. In other words, the British public have paid a total of 86.3 million pounds from 2022 to 2023 to cover the official expenses of the monarch and the maintenance of the occupied royal palaces. I could also make the argument that the 26.2 million pounds King Charles just got from the Privy Purse is also paid by the UK residents, and maybe even some of his quote-unquote personal wealth is the people's, because of the way many of the lands and holdings came to be property of the monarchy. However, that's a topic for another time, or for another person. Maybe a smarter person, I don't know. But food for thought. It'll take way too long to explain. Anyways, let's go back to the story at hand. So, is the money the king receives financially worth it for the residents of the United Kingdom? Well, there is not a straightforward answer, mostly because the previous questions can be split up into two different but connected questions. So, do the responsibilities of the king deserve a salary of 86.3 million pounds? And does the king make the United Kingdom financially better? To answer the first question, according to the Royal Household Framework Agreement relating to the sovereign grant, quote, the purpose of the sovereign grant for a financial year is to provide resources for use by the royal household in support of his/her Majesty's official duties, including the maintenance of the occupied royal palaces, thereby enabling his/her Majesty to perform his/her duties as sovereign effectively, efficiently, and with appropriate dignity. Close quote. Let me read it again. To perform his/her duties as sovereign effectively. Duties. What are the king's duties? Maybe this explanation, along with a PowerPoint made available from the official website of the royal family, will help us understand. In a monarchy, a king or queen is head of state. The British monarchy is known as a constitutional monarchy. This means that while the sovereign is head of state, the ability to make and pass legislation resides with an elected parliament. Although the sovereign no longer has a political or executive role, he or she continues to play an important part in life of the nation. As head of state, the monarch undertakes constitutional and representational duties which have developed over 1,000 years of history. In addition to these state duties, the monarch has less formal role as head of nation. The sovereign acts as a focus for national identity, unity, and pride. Gives a sense of stability and continuity, officially recognizes success and excellence, and supports the ideal of voluntary service. In all these roles, the sovereign is supported by members of their immediate family. Wait, hold up. Just let's back up. The sovereign no longer has a political or executive role? Yeah, that's right. The monarch's duties as head of state, head of nation, head of commonwealth, head of Church of England, head of the armed force, patron of charities, constitutional responsibilities, whatever, all the titles are all ceremonial. The monarch king, in this case, doesn't really make any actual decisions or contribute anything of real value other than being a famous image. And the king, in a way, is more like a famous celebrity rather than a ruling, presiding, in charge of a country kind of king. Which brings me to the second part of my original question. Does the king make the United Kingdom financially better? Or are they getting more money in their pockets? For this question, I'm not even going to get into the specifics of talking about the financial benefit, the brand image the royal family brings to the United Kingdom. Instead, I want to look at real quantitative numbers. But just to quickly put it all into perspective, according to the Center for Economics and Business Research, the coronation of King Charles boosted spending in tourism by £337 million. The coronation of King Charles cost between 50 and 100 million pounds. That event, in addition to all the royal family weddings and past coronations, have greatly benefited the economy in the UK. Even though, I do want to point this out, they do come at a cost for the taxpayer. Now let's see those numbers. Going back to the Crown Estate, the money that was spent just on paying normal working people in the UK was £98.7 million. From workers that need to manage the Crown Estate grounds to IT technicians, a lot of jobs are created because of the Crown Estates. Just based on that figure alone, the monarchy has improved the economy by a net positive of £12.4 million. If we added all that money that is generated from tourism directly correlated to the monarchy, the monetary net benefit for the country of the UK would keep going up. Again, I want to point out that this video and my analysis was based solely on whether or not the monarchy is financially worth it for the citizens of the UK. We could start getting into controversies and historical events, but just based on the financial numbers, I believed it could be worth it to utter the words, "Long live the